We'll set up Node-RED on the Raspberry Pi. So the first thing we can do is SSH into the Raspberry Pi using the .local address. And the first time you do that, you'll be prompted to save the key into your SSH known host file. Enter the default password, which is Raspberry for the Pi user. And until you change that, you'll be prompted to change the password. So it's a good idea to do it from the beginning for security reasons. So you can use the password command, just enter the old password, which is Raspberry, and then enter your new password and confirm to set the new password. And once you've done that, you'll be ready to start running Node-RED. So there are a number of different commands on the Raspberry Pi that are related to Node-RED. If you type in Node-RED at the command line and hit tab a couple of times, you'll see the different commands. So you can see Node-RED Pi, Node-RED start, Node-RED stop. You can use Node-RED start to manually start Node-RED. And when you do that, it'll print some information about Node-RED to the terminal, so you can see some of the different commands, different ways that you can start it. And most importantly, you'll see the IP address, the server address, and the port. So this is how you'd access Node-RED from your PC or your Mac. But before we go any further, let's just cancel out of that, hit Control-C, and we'll update Node-RED and Node and npm using the update Node-RED command. So you'll see what it's going to do. It's going to remove the old versions and replace them with the latest versions of Node and npm and Node-RED from the npm repository. So that takes a little while to run. Come back in a couple of minutes when that's done. Okay, now that it's upgraded Node and Node-RED, we can run the Node-RED start command, and you'll see that the version of Node and of Node-RED has updated. So that's going to print out in the informational message that gets displayed when you start Node-RED, right there. Now the other thing that we can do is we can grab the URL and the port for our Node-RED service from that message, and we can copy that into our web browser. And for this, it's best to use Firefox or Chrome. So here's Chrome. We'll just copy that address in to access Node-RED. So here's the Node-RED user interface. And you can see you've got nodes down the side that you can use to program your IoT flows. So inputs and outputs and functions. And if you scroll down, you'll see there are a number of nodes that are specifically designed for the Raspberry Pi. So these here, and you can see the Raspberry Pi GPIO nodes are particularly useful when you want to control or read from components that are attached to the GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi. So this one's for sensors and this one's for outputs like actuators. And you can see there are a number of other nodes there that are relating to things like SenseHat on the Raspberry Pi. Now all of these nodes have been installed from npm modules. So if we go up to the menu and go to Manage Palette, we can see exactly where each of these nodes has come from. So for the built-in nodes, we can see a list of the nodes there that have come from that Node-RED package. And we can see some of the other packages that are installed, like IBM Watson IoT provides these nodes. So there are a number of different nodes that are installed by default when you install Raspbian and Jessie. But you can also add contributed modules for additional nodes. So you go to the Install tab, and if we want to search for home automation packages, we could type home and do a search, and we'd see a number of different modules available. So Alexa home skill module, for example. We've got blind controller modules. We've got modules that are related to various other home automation frameworks, MQTT. The one that I'm particularly interested in is this HomeKit module, which is for Apple HomeKit devices. If we click on install, we can see some more information. We can click through to the website for that module. And it's a good idea to do this before you install, because you'll see if there are any dependencies that are required in order to get that node module up and running. So in this case there are. We need to install these libraries to make sure we have Bonjour support, running on our Raspberry Pi. So if we copy that sudo apt-get install command and the list of dependencies there, we can go back to the command line and we can install them. So hit Control-C to cancel out of Node-RED and run that command to install those packages. So that should only take about a minute to install. Just need to confirm that yes, we want to install all of those packages. And once we've done that, then we'll be able to install the Node-RED module either from npm via the command line, or go back to the Node-RED user interface and install it via the graphical user interface. So we can see it's installed a number of different packages there. And now we're ready to run Node-RED again. But instead of running it manually this time using Node-RED start, let's set it up so that we can run it using system control as a service. So sudo system control, and we need to enable the Node-RED service. If you're not sure what the name of the service is, you can go back and look at the history where we started Node-RED, and you'll see the exact name of the service there. So it's Node-RED, all one word, service. So system control enable Node-RED service, and now that service is available, so we can run sudo service Node-RED start. To start that service, we can start it up on boot, and if we wanted to stop the service, we could run sudo service Node-RED stop. So now we could go and install this homekit module from the command line, or we could go back to Node-RED and simply hit install. So that takes a little while, and once it's done, we'll see it has installed, and we can see it now in our list of nodes, and there are 2 nodes available.